The Umbrella Academy has just dropped on Netflix, and the show expertly captures the source material in several ways that make it a thrilling journey from beginning to end. But who are the Umbrella Academy, and what does the show's ending mean for the cast of characters going forward? Well, throughout this video I'll be breaking down everything that you need to know about the show as well as its ending. Make sure you stick around until the end for my predictions on season 2, as well as my review of the entire run. There will of course be heavy spoilers here, so if you don't want to know anything about the Umbrella Academy, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. But for everyone else, I'm Definition, and welcome to the channel where I watch it so you don't have to. The Umbrella Academy is adapted from the Dark Horse comic of the same name from Gerard Way. Similar to the source material, we follow a group of unwitting superheroes left to deal with the upcoming apocalypse. After a group of 43 women mysteriously fall pregnant without the babies ever being conceived, Sir Reginald Hargreeeves adopts a group of them and trains them to become superheroes. Their training is pretty grueling and brutal, and due to it, the cast become very dysfunctional and not really the types of personalities that you would expect to become superheroes. The heroes themselves were numbered from 1 to 7 by Hargreeves, which kind of hints at exactly just how much he objectified them. He really sees them as weapons that he will use to save the world, and because of this, it just basically destroys their personalities. The characters themselves, of course, don't want to be labelled as just numbers, so they begin to carve out their own identities. Number 1, or Space Boy as he prefers to be called, is the leader of the team. He's your strongman archetype possessing super strength, and he's the real driving force behind them. After being heavily damaged, the character is injected with a serum that turns him to a gorilla-like hulk of a man, and that's sort of the reason why he moves to the moon. If Space Boy is Superman, then number 2, the Kraken, is definitely Batman. This dark and brooding figure is an expert in hand-to-hand combat, and is sort of a badass that's definitely my favourite of the bunch. Number 3 is the Rumour, and she's very much your Scarlet Witch archetype that can alter reality by lying about it, and due to this, she's one of the most dangerous of the group. She became a celebrity, but through this lost her child and husband, and you kind of get the feeling that she deeply regrets having the power that she does. Number 4 is the Seance, a character cursed with the ability to talk to the dead, and because of this he spends the majority of his time trying to be as zoned out as possible. Number 5 is a time traveller that's stuck in the body of his younger self, and he's the real driving force behind the family that brings them together after warning them of the coming apocalypse. He disappeared for years, and due to this they all separated, so his return kind of becomes the glue that mends them. Number 6 is Dead, and number 7, Vanya, played by Ellen Page, has been ostracised by the family after writing a tell-all book on just how bad her childhood was. Now onto the show's plot and ending, which is a hell of a lot of fun. Vanya is an expert violinist, and the first season really focuses on how her ostracization as a child led to her eventually becoming a supervillain known as the White Violin. While she's labelled as super ordinary, we quickly see through glimpses of her childhood that this isn't the case. She makes mincemeat of her nannies and more, and this really puts the fear into Hargreeves. Imagine the Dark Phoenix times 10 with a talent for tunes and a huge chip on her shoulder, and you kind of understand her arc as well as why Hargreeves realised that she was too powerful to let loose on the world. This of course isn't revealed till the later episodes, but early on we get several hints that this may be the case. Episode 1 opens with the death of Sir Hargreeves, and the team are united at his funeral after news of it breaks across the world. We get the impression early on that one by one the Academy left their childhood home through various means, and it seems like all of them are mentally scarred for a number of reasons. When number 5 returns and warns of the apocalypse, you really get the feeling that in attempting to divert it, they in fact cause it. Vanya slowly uncovers her past and learns that she was put on pills by Hargreeves in order to quell her abilities after he feared that she wasn't strong enough to control them. All Vanya ever wanted to do was be loved, and eventually this suppression led to her rediscovering her darker side. After almost killing Allison, she goes on a path led by fear and manipulation of those around her who attempt to shout her down and claim that she is ordinary, but this backfires massively. Eventually, after murdering her friend Harold Jenkins, Vanya goes on the run and the group discover his body. Number 5 has been carrying around an eye for the majority of the show, and after realising it fits the victim, they mistakenly believe that they may have stopped the apocalypse. However, this is quickly rumbled when Allison awakens and reveals about Vanya's abilities. This is Hargreeves' final secret, which is confirmed by Pogo. Unfortunately, Allison can't talk anymore, so her powers are no longer able to stop Vanya. Like all great supervillains, she has a real duality to her, and it's clear that her spiral out of control is full of remorse when we see her break down over Allison's admission that she wasn't really there for her. Upon returning home, she's betrayed by Space Boy, who makes her lose consciousness and locks her in a cell that Hargreeves had built to contain her. Within, she finally breaks and decides that she won't be pushed around anymore and embraces who she is. It's a real tragedy, as had the family not alienated her, then she probably would have grown up to be someone who could change the world for the better, but instead she becomes its ultimate enemy. She breaks out the cell, and as we head into our finale, she finally steps into the role of the white violin. Walking through the house, she recounts all of the unhappy memories of her childhood, and it's one of the best realizations of a supervillain that I've ever seen put on screen. Eventually she kills Pogo, and I dare any of you not to cry over the best death of a monkey since Caesar. The academy is destroyed and she heads out into the world, which is when the rest of the family regretfully realize that they must take her down once and for all to stop the apocalypse. They head to her concert where she plays a beautiful song on her violin that brings the house down, literally. They realize that Vanya's violin is a lightning rod, and that in stripping her of it before she finishes the song, that the world will be saved. They rush her, but she catches and suspends them before beginning to drain them of their life force. Allison sneaks up behind her and shoots her, which is when a white beam fires from her to the moon. The moon explodes, which hurls a giant meteorite towards the Earth, and it seems like the apocalypse hasn't been averted at all. Number 5 says that using their time travel ability, they can go back in time to Vanya's childhood and repair the damage that they did, otherwise the apocalypse will forever play out. They are returned to their younger bodies and then disappear just before the fire hits them, showing that they have went back in time. Going into Season 2, there's a lot to look forward to as well. Season 1 was primarily based upon the group's first graphic novel, Apocalypse Suite, so it stands to reason that Season 2 will be based on its follow-up, Dallas. Whilst I can imagine that it will initially be focused on fixing Vanya's childhood, I don't think that there's enough there to sustain a season, which is why I think it will pick up on other plot points from Dallas. In that, following the events of Apocalypse Suite, Space Boy becomes morbidly obese after hurtling into a Great Depression due to the events of the graphic novel, and the Kraken becomes the leader of the team. The book centers around the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and whilst I don't want to give too much away, it's a joy to read. It's heavily rooted in time travel, and there's a big reveal that one of the characters has a twin. Definitely pick that book up if you want an amazing read, as I actually think that it's better than the first one due to its ability to juggle the past, present and more, and it just makes for an outstanding time travel story. And now onto my review. Well, The Umbrella Academy, when created as a comic, was originally crafted to be a deconstruction of the genre that showcased that people we idolize may not exactly be happy to be in that position. Naturally, the show expertly depicts this, and the 10-episode run perfectly showcases that with great power comes great psychological issues. These are guys who've had their moments in the spotlight, and since their fall from grace have really struggled with self-esteem issues that this inevitably leads to. Similar to The Haunting of Hill House, the season beautifully uses the past and present to paint out just how damaging events from earlier in our lives can be, and unlike most Netflix shows, no episode feels like it's needlessly been put there to stretch out the runtime. As a big comic book fan myself, I found a lot to love here, and I think that this really has something for everyone, which makes it a brilliant watch. This is a lot better than the majority of superhero shows that we have out now at our fingertips, and I definitely recommend that you watch it if you haven't already. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on The Umbrella Academy, as well as what you want to see from it going forward. Make sure you leave your review and theories in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video then please like it, and make sure you check out my breakdown of this week's other big time travel release, Happy Death Day 2, which will be linked at the end. This is a channel for people who are super into superheroes, so if that's the kind of thing you like, hit subscribe. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.